understanding that sales is a discipline. Sales can be taught. You can teach people how to be good salespeople. And that the whole the advantage of having a replicable sales process assures that you are adhering to some methodology and approach that systematically helps your client make a good buying decision, and most importantly, helps them understand why it is that your solution represents the best buying decision among the choices. When you look at why do companies lose sales, and you boil it all down to its absolute essence, you end up with 3 basic words. And that is, I didn't know. That's it. I didn't know price was important. I didn't know they only had this much money for this purchase. I didn't know Bob had a more important role in this decision than Tammy. I didn't know our software had to be compatible with this. Those are excuses. And what those are, telltale signs that something about your approach to selling allowed that gap in your knowledge to occur, and as a result, because you didn't know, you didn't bother to present why it is that your software is in fact compatible with that. That you didn't take Bob's perspective into consideration when you put your proposal together. So the process and the methodology that I try to instill in my clients is one that eliminates that excuse. I didn't know. And what I hope to impress upon the audience is that excuse is a result of a lack of a discipline within the sales methodology that your company either doesn't have, but should. There's nothing worse than coming in second in a complex sales campaign. Now, I wrote an article about the 9 excuses given by companies who have lost major sales campaigns. And you wouldn't be amazed by some of those excuses, or the diplomatic speak that a CEO would share after a devastating second place finish. Here's one that was said by a CEO after being told that they lost a $55 billion contract to a particular country. And that is, well, we are humbled by that loss. And we learned a lesson from this experience, and that is, we need to tell our story better. Now, the interesting aspect of it is, on the face, most people, you go, well, that's a pretty humbling thing to say by a CEO. But as a sales veteran expert, let me tell you how to hear it differently. It is, the customer was too stupid to understand the story in the way we were telling it. And so the next time, we have to tell our story better. We have to dumb it down. We have to it's not an acknowledgement that they made a good decision. What you basically said by saying we have to tell our story better is that they made a bad decision by not picking your product, and they made the bad decision because they simply didn't understand your story. That's just unbelievable to me. And so when I hear excuses like that for why I came in second, why we lost, all I hear is there is no discipline in the sales process. They are not adhering to a sales methodology. Because had they adhered to a sales methodology, they would have spent less time about, quote unquote, telling their story and more time listening and engaging the customer in a productive discussion about how they wanted to go about making the decision and what the driving priorities were in that decision, and serving that customer along the way in a manner that supports that customer's decision-making process.
Yeah.
So, losing sucks. It really does. There's no joy, there's nothing that comes with coming in second. Having to explain to your employees, to your shareholders, to your vendors, to your board of directors why it is you lost is a tough one. Taking away that excuse of "I didn't know" as an explanation for a loss can be accomplished by adhering to a discipline or recognizing sales as a discipline and adopting a process in your company.